Okay. Hello people, this is going to be a terrible video because I have no room to make a better desk. However, this is a good example for what I'm going to talk about. This is for jumping and sprinting and just physics in general, but going downhill is better than going uphill, and I'll explain why. For starters, a ball will gain always more momentum going down the decline, even if it's virtually nothing. And basically it continues to gain speed no matter what, and uses virtually no energy to do so. It just has to not break in the process. If the ball is stronger and more durable, it will survive and gain even more momentum. Everyone kind of understood that and always understands that. So a lot of people think going uphill is going to bring more strength because it's harder. It may require more energy to go uphill because objects don't travel uphill. But the reason why downhill is better is because when you're on the downhill, let's go with just in general for sprinting sake, it will gain more momentum this way. So you'll gain more velocity this way, even if on the slightest amount of decline, which puts a higher strain on the body. Everyone knows that it takes more strength and return force and rebound energy, and just everything is just harder when you build up more momentum. It also requires less momentum to go further. So for example, this here, if this was flat, it'd take a great deal of effort to just go completely horizontal, but it doesn't take as much effort to go further when it's on a decline, which means you fall further, which means you have more vertical velocity going down, which adds more resistance. Now when you have more resistance, it obviously is a lot harder to train on because it's harder on the body, but at the same time, as long as you're not picking something that you can't handle right away, you will get a basically further distance out and further distance down, which will stress the body harder. At the same time, you'll learn to handle it better and you'll get a better rebound once you can make use of this kind of resistance or velocity or like challenge that the body encounters. And then you'll also be able to translate that eventually if you take the time to build yourself up to it. Now, most tracks or long jump pits or just sporting fields will have a slight decline or a slight incline one way and the other, but incline's going to burn you out. It's going to take longer to get off joints when you're going uphill. It'd be no different to trying to roll up a hill. You'll spend a lot longer on joints that will hurt you trying to go up the incline, and that will actually stress the joints worse, and it'll make joints a lot more damaged and take longer to heal. But when you go downhill on the joints, you gain more resistance going downhill in two ways. But at the same time, because your momentum is going downhill and still going downhill, even if you land on your joints, you'll come off the decline quicker, which means you get more speed training as long as you can learn to do it. This is actually a nightmare because like I'm angled to do this video. So I've seen a lot of videos and I've grown up a lot that in jumping, a lot of people jump on even courts or close to even or uphill. But the reality is when you jump downhill, you'll fall further, which means you'll have to capture any kind of strain on the body and translate it. So your joints will be reacting quicker to the ground on a slight decline. You'll have more resistance and you'll get off that resistance quicker. This will train you to be stronger and more explosive when it comes to jumping. And it's better on the joints compared to going uphill, which will stress fracture the joints because you spend more time on them just trying to go up. If you find a way to be efficient uphill, that's not going to help you because you're not gaining as much resistance because you're jumping uphill. So when you jump uphill, you don't jump as high, so you land lower. When you jump downhill, you land much further down and you have more resistance and more momentum, which means you have to get stronger going downhill. Everyone knows it's going to be harder going downhill. You don't have to do 100 steps or 1,000 steps downhill. You just have to practice maybe one jump, take a stop, reset, and continue that process. Animals tend to fight downhill. Animals jump downhill quite easily. They know how to handle it. As long as they get better at it, it's just going to benefit them. Whereas going uphill is just, it may benefit in some ways, but not as much as downhill, in my opinion. Most sprint tracks are going to have a slight decline or level playing field, and usually a lot of people understand when they gain a bit too much speed they're not used to, their body locks up and starts to get tense because it's too challenging. Training downhill will overcome this barrier. This here is just an arch here and that's just a ball, but just imagine you're just coming for a running jump. You jump on the slight decline with a 2-leg jump or a 1-leg jump. You gain lots of velocity up in the air. You gain further distance out because you're jumping. Well, it's easy to jump high, but because you got momentum going this way, you're going to end up higher off the ground, which means when you land, you're going to land harder with momentum that accelerates you down, which means your bones, joints, tendons, nervous system, everything has to accommodate for speed, agility, fracturing faster, which means you get better microfracturing, a better build for the body, a better build for athletic movement, so faster turning, faster movement. You gain better dexterity going downhill. Uphill, you can just figure it out by just getting a little bit fitter, and it doesn't really serve as much purpose as you'd think compared to a downhill movement. Obviously, I'm not saying train 200 meters downhill, really decline. If you could, that'd be amazing. But most people just know just to gain a little bit of momentum and then build upon it, because you only need a small decline, and then the challenge always gets more challenging the stronger you get, because the faster you get this way, the further you're going to drop, and the faster you get downhill, which means you gain more momentum, which means you have to get stronger again. When you go uphill, you can just lose that momentum quickly and just stop. Downhill, it takes a lot of effort. If anyone's wondering exactly what I mean by this, for most of the people, I'm recommending this to jumpers, because sprinters probably already train like this, but a lot of jumpers do not go out and sprint downhill lots. But if you were to build your downhill sprint mechanics and become efficient over a couple of steps, you're going to improve your jump. A lot of people don't do jumping downhill, but if you were, you're going to get higher off the ground. People are like, that's cheating vert. Who cares? You're going to gain a longer drop, and a longer drop with velocity, which is going to help when you go to the court and do a regular dunk. I hope you guys understood that. If you don't, just honestly, if you don't understand any of this, watch some videos on things going downhill and how they build momentum. Anything that gains momentum downhill has to be stronger to continue making downhill momentum.